Welcome to Thirst Impressions. I am Will, and today we're going to be talking about tequila, Toreadors, and toxic culture.
And I'm Spencer.
I'm Belinda.
And I'm Kevin.
I don't know how we normally start these things.
This better be in the final version of this cut, by the way.
So totally naturally.
Totally natural. Ask me what we're drinking, Will. I'm thirsty.
Fuck. I'm going to shoot this and then we're going to start.
Cheers.
Damn, go for it. Oh, speaking of shots, we went to Phoenix. Was it last week? Has it been that recent? Yeah, it was last week. And we went to this bar and somebody was like, let's do shots. And so we go to the bar, order shots of tequila, and they are not Utah shots. They are like juice tumblers,
like 4 ounces of tequila. Yeah,
4 ounces each. And so we all, like, our eyes get huge. We're like, oh, okay, maybe I won't be shooting the entire thing at a time. I did, though.
I was gonna say, you knocked that shit back in one swallow.
Yeah.
It was impressive.
Me and some friends went to Twist this weekend, and
nice.
Like, seriously, no,
Did you go to the drag show?
No. Okay. So we were planning on going to Twist, and so me being me, I was like, I want to be extra. So I'm wearing like pink shorts, like a bright purple shirt, feeling really good about myself, you know. And we show up, and guess it was you guys know how in Utah we have like days of 47.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Gays.
It was the gays of 47 night.
Yay.
So I was like, this is fucking awesome. Where's all my gay friends here? And then I never found any. I never danced. I was really sad about it, honestly.
Belinda and I found them all.
We got there, and I was like, all right, guys, it's shot time. So like I get everybody shots, and we do the shot, and I'm like, all right, it's shot time part 2. I needed 2 shots in order to get there.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do.
Yeah. So what are we planning on drinking today, Kevin?
So speaking of shots and getting there,
yes.
I've already tried one right before we started recording because, I'd never had this drink before and it just sounded really good. And indeed it is. But I'm going to do a couple of unique twists, but it's a cocktail called the Toreador, which is Spanish for bullfighter, I guess, or something like that. I think it is. Maybe I'm totally wrung.
Well, like the opera, like in Carmen, right? The Toreador. He's the bullfighter.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's just a word for it too. I think it's just Spanish. Yeah.
I'm sure.
But I've been to one bullfight before.
Really?
In southern France actually, but this was a bullfight where rather than like putting down the animal, because they do that, right? If they win, they put it down. They don't do that. It's like it's kind of like the gaze of 47 type bullfight. Instead, they lace flowers in the horns. They interweave a bunch of flowers in the horns, and the goal of the bullfighter is to get close enough to pluck a flower out cleanly and then put it betwing their teeth and run away. Yeah, it's the most beautiful type of
probably more of a challenge than stabbing it, right?
Yeah, I mean they were still getting. The humans were getting kind of fucked up by the bull, but they weren't destroying the animals, so that was nice. But
I love that.
It's a drink called the Toreador. Belinda and I have a friend that we met in England, whose father was a very famous bartender in England and in the cocktail scene. Who has since passed on, but she posted something in her stories the other day about a bar that had recently opened in London, and it talked about, I go there once a week to get Toreadors, and I was like, ooh, a Toreador, that sounds interesting. So I looked it up on Giffard's Guide. By the way, just the tip with Kevin.
Just the tip with Kevin.
We haven't had just the tip with Kevin for a while. I'm kind of feeling it. I like getting the tips in there. If you know what I mean. But Giffard's Guide is a great website for if you're feeling thirsty and want to make a cocktail and you're
Adventurous.
not sure what to make,
Thirsty for a drink.
It has everything. Yeah, thirsty for a drink, not the other kind of thirsty.
Not some strange.
Yeah, no.
Oh,
But
I totally just
both.
winked.
You could be both, but you're
Yeah.
only going to have it quenched
Oh.
by the Difford's Guide for your.
If you're the other
physical,
kind
like,
of thirsty, you got
Just-
dick.
just the tip with Kevin quenches all types of thirst. I'm just saying. No, so the Toreador is historically, it goes back to the 1930s. It first shows up in the historical record. Again, we don't really know when it shows up for sure at first, but there was a cocktail book called the Cafe Royale Cocktail Book that was published in 1937. And this drink shows up in there. Now, granted, if you remember way back when, it was episode 1 that we did the margarita, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tommy's.
The margarita, just the OG margarita, you might remember it's kind of disputed who invented it, and there's several people who claim it. But this recipe shows up at least 16 years before the margarita. And it's very, very, very similar to kind of a traditional margarita recipe. The biggest difference is they substitute apricot brandy or apricot liqueur for the triple sec. Which is just brilliant and lovely, actually. Oh, for me, because I love apricots. But the tough thing is you can get apricot liqueur and apricot brandy in Utah, but it's not always in every liquor store. So you may have to hunt around a little bit for it. But another interesting thing in that same recipe book, there you go. In that same recipe book,
that looks conspicuously like the creme de violet.
It's the same company.
Yeah.
For those of you who are just listening, Belinda held up her bottle of apricot liqueur.
And if you want to know what that is, check out the episode. I think it was aviations and something, but
yes. And check us out on YouTube. We'll throw that in too. So in that same recipe book from 1937, there was also a cocktail called the Picador, which I don't really speak Spanish, so I don't know what that means. I think it's pica is small. I don't know. I'm not, the one who peeks through the door. Yeah. But that recipe is actually identical to an OG margarita recipe. So the reality is when you drink a margarita, you're actually drinking a picador because the picador came first. So the recipe for this is kind of an odd one in terms of measurements. As Belinda said when I showed it to her, just round up. Feel free to round up a little bit. But I will say it's an odd amount in ounces, but in milliliters or mLs, it's not odd.
Okay,
so it's probably
say
European.
something about a picador.
Okay.
Googled it. A picador is a bullfighter who fights on horseback.
So these two drinks obviously are very similar, as well as their namesakes. Yeah. So the recipe calls for tequila. It calls specifically for reposado tequila. Do y'all know the difference between like a silver tequila and a reposado? No. All it is it's the same tequila. Silver, it has not been aged at all. They just make it, distill it, and then they bottle it, just like you would with most vodkas or gins or things like that. A reposado is aged for 2 to 11 months. And then there's other levels once it's aged longer than that. But so it's generally always aged in an oak barrel. So it gives it some, vanilla notes, depending on the barrels, vanilla notes or nuttiness or earthiness or things like that. So the first drink I did with a reposado tequila. And since I've already drank that one, as soon as I drank this, I realized, oh, Kevin, you want mezcal, you don't want tequila. So if you prefer more earthiness, more smokiness, feel free to just substitute mezcal for tequila. I'm using Bozal, which is a brand you can get here in Utah. So So it calls for 50 milliliters of tequila, or if we do it in ounces, like I said, it's awkward. It's 1 2/3 fluid ounces. There's never usually a mark for 2/3 of an ounce, so it's kind of awkward. And then it calls for 25 mLs, or I think it was like 5/6. Yeah, 5/6 of an ounce. So that's why I was like, just use the mLs. Like if you're using a measuring cup or
Jigger.
measuring container, if you're using the jigger, it's a little, you just eyeball it, I guess. On this one, if you look on the side, somewhere here, it actually shows the milliliter measurement. So it's easy. So 25 milliliters of apricot brandy or apricot liqueur, and then 25 mLs of fresh lime juice. I found it to be slightly more acidic than my liking on the first one. It was good, but so to tweak it, I went ahead and added like a bar spoonful of agave nectar. Like literally just got my bar spoon out and put a little in and then stirred it up with it. So you put all of that in your handy dandy shaker, put a little ice in. And since I already went through one, I figured this time I should make 2 at the same time. So I've got a double here. Oops, sorry.
I'm
You give it a
excited
nice
about.
shake.
Did you
go
make
ahead.
one, Will, or are you laying low like me today?
So, okay, guys, I to be real, I'm trying really hard to lay low, but this weekend I drank a lot of liquor, and
Yeah,
so
I've
today,
been drinking.
yeah, I've been really good about keeping up with my workouts. So I thought, like, I've earned this. So I'm gonna take a shot just to kind of like loosen up, and I definitely
health.
have not taken like 2 or 3 shots before this. So this is my first shot.
damn, nice. I haven't had a drink in almost 3 weeks.
Are you serious?
Wow.
That's awesome. Good job.
Yeah. So
Honestly,
cutting back a little
okay.
bit.
Kevin is the bad influence in my life. So last week he was like, he texted our group and was like, "Hey, we're going to karaoke. Did anybody want to come?" And I was like, "I want to go to karaoke." And that was the first time I drank in about probably a month and a half.
Wow.
So, but not Kevin. I don't want to make you feel bad. I'm only joking. I promise.
I don't really care.
Because like over the weekend, my liver hurts. I'll just say that. And that is a beautiful drink. Show that off, Kevin.
Thank you. Yeah. So this is a Toreador.
Wow.
Well, it's like a smoking Toreador. I don't know. Because I added the mezcal. Oh, I also added, because I'm extra, just another like half bar spoonful of the ancho chili liqueur that you can also get here in Utah, because with that smoky earthiness, it just called for a little balance of spice, in my opinion. So yeah. So cheers to the
Cheers,
smoky
cheers.
Toreador. Yeah.
Cheers.
What do you got there? Some lemonade, limeade?
Yeah, just some basil lemonade.
Ooh, yummy.
Wow.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
god
Spencer,
damn. That's
That's
even
really
better. Yeah, that's really good.
I just did a hard rounding on all my numbers for that cocktail. and it
How did that
worked
taste,
beautifully.
Belinda?
Amazing.
Amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
so round up and you should be good.
Just round
So
it
instead
up,
of 5/6 of an ounce, just do an ounce.
right. And 1 2/3 of an ounce of tequila.
Just make it 2.
Do you know what's so funny? So Kevin said
3.
what was it? 5/6 of an ounce.
yeah.
So in my head, I'm thinking like, okay, there's got to be a better way. Like maybe if he doubled this, it would make more sense. So I was like, okay, 5/6, that means 10 twelfths. And I was like, okay, now I got to reduce this. Oh, it's about 5/6. It's almost an ounce. Like what you should just say, like almost an ounce.
Yeah, just say an ounce. Yeah.
Now reduce.
No, I think
Well, I just doubled it and then halved it.
I think it must have been a European recipe, because in mLs, it's like 50 mLs, 25, 25, and 5 or whatever. So like that makes perfect sense. Like those are nice kind of even measurements that you see on things. But once they translate, it didn't translate as well. But
Yeah, I'm actually, so even though I took a shot, I am actually this is my mug for today. It's Meow Trek. It's a cat themed Star Trek. And all it says is no, I actually, guys, I actually did take like 3 shots before that one. So I'm not gonna try to read that, but cool.
So are you drinking tea in that, or?
Yes, that is what I wanted to say. Is I am drinking Earl Grey tea today. So
I didn't know if you just were steeping Earl Grey tea bag in vodka or something, which would probably be delicious, to be honest with you. But
that I'm not doing that, Kevin. That is not something I'm doing, but that is not a bad idea.
Just a tip with Kevin again, don't boil your vodka. It's not good for it. But yeah, like a cold brew of Earl Grey tea and, or not the tea, just the Earl Grey tea bag in some vodka, I think is worth a try. Yeah.
No, I said this in our last episode, but I really think there's this weird relationship that the United States has with tea and with coffee, actually, and it actually does stem from the American Revolution, because they meaning the government of the United Kingdom during that time period was trying really hard to get the colonies to pay taxes on the tea that they're importing.
Yeah.
So if I'm not mistaken, I swear I read this in a book somewhere, the reason why America is much more coffee oriented than they are tea oriented, because you would think if we were UK colonies, we would adopt tea as our kind of pastime drink. But it was kind of like this this revolutionary, like, yeah, no, fuck the tea. Like they are taxing our local tea to such a degree where like coffee is cheaper. And so Americans just kind of, because of our rebelliousness, we've adopted coffee as our
or our cheapness, right? Like rebelliousness or cheapness. Maybe the coffee was taxed less, you know.
No, that's actually what I was trying to get at, is the coffee was taxed less, and so the coffee was cheaper. And so kind of the founding of our country, coffee was the go-to drink at the time.
I mean,
anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to say was, I think tea in this country and in our culture, especially in Utah, not you guys. Sorry, I keep hitting my microphone.
Maybe.
But people here in Utah, I feel like tea is such a great drink.
Have you ever been to the Tea Grotto in Salt Lake?
Oh, it's so fun. Yeah.
I'm gonna go.
Tons of different kinds of tea.
The only tea I've had out in public would be either a Starbucks or tea time at the Grand America Hotel.
Oh, we should do that. Let's go tea at the Grand.
Or in London.
Yes.
Let's just go to London.
Or in London.
I love that idea, because all I'm trying to say is we need to drink more tea, because to me, like, tea is so relaxing, and it kind of makes you just, it's a different drink. So you get to enjoy it. You get to put yourself in a different state of mind, and you get to relax, and you get this great taste. And because I think we grew up Mormon, we kind of have lost this. Well, never got to experience tea.
We grew up with sweet as being sweet and being something to relax with, a soda pop or whatnot, right? So like having tea or coffee, which is not sweet or is bitter like coffee, like,
and
it's an adjustment.
In Mormonism is considered a sin, evil, right? So it's the double-edged sword of, like, speaking of double-edged sword, I bought a big fucking knife on the roadside this week, but
what was that?
Sorry. So fucking random.
Show us the knife.
Speaking of
Kevin.
double, here's a knife.
Here, I actually bought this Glock.
No,
like,
it's just we're driving through the middle of nowhere, Utah, and we stop at this like kind of gas stop, truck stop.
G-spot.
It's the one.
It's called the G spot 40.
What?
Highway 40. Yeah,
40.
It's really not called the G spot. We call it the G spot. It's called the G.
The big G. But they sell T-shirts that say "I found the G spot." So
no,
yeah. So
it's like the gas stations in Beaver.
Exactly.
Exactly.
When your whole local economy,
or the come and go, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Come and go. They have to
No,
know.
they come
Oh,
and
they
go.
know. They know.
The come and go gets me every time. Like, are you guys kidding me? Come on.
So there was a guy sitting like near the highway on a picnic table, and he had these like all these really cool. He had some that were more expensive that I wanted to buy, like it was bighorn sheep horn that he used to make the handle or whatever. But it's like all found objects. It's like, you know, a found shed from an antler from a deer as the handle. And then the blade he fashioned out of an old abandoned sawmill blade that he found. So he cut it and tempered it and sharpened it and beveled it and everything. But it's pretty badass, actually.
And then
but
he made
no,
a
this
beautiful
is
leather,
yeah. And then he made a fun
scabbard or
little leather scabbard. But I was enamored with him, so I purchased.
That is so fucking random.
Yeah,
that was
But
so
yeah,
that was so random. What were we talking about?
I was talking about
before that happened?
the double-edged sword of tea in Utah because
and sugar. And Belinda was talking about sugar.
Well, that's what I'm saying is it's a sin, and B, you're taught that the things that taste good have a strong sugary flavor. They're medium thick with sugar, you know.
You know, Belinda, I hadn't thought about that. You're absolutely completely right.
That's why
like
swig is a thing. The soda shops, millions of soda shops and
100.
cupcake shops and
candy
cookie shops. Yeah.
The sweet tooth fairy. Yeah.
I've always said I've always said like Utah is kind of funny because we have like these literal soda shops where you can buy soda with special ingredients in it. When in all the other 49 states in this union, in this stupid country we live in, they have coffee shops. But here in Utah, no, we have a couple coffee shops and we have a shit ton of soda shops.
Yeah, and they're not like the soda shops of the 50s where it's like, you know, give me a phosphate with lime or whatever. Like, it's like,
no soda jerks,
right? And like tons more sugar because they put syrups in them. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That's what I was gonna say. The special ingredients are like a hint of something, vanilla, mint, whatever, with a shit ton of sugar and water.
Yeah,
right? Like that's all of the special ingredients.
Or they're like Mountain Dew as the base or something. Like it's all like. I don't know.
So what I was thinking of was. You're totally right, Belinda, because we have all these soda shops. And in my head, I've always thought like, I actually had this conversation with like family members before, because I started to get into coffee a little bit as I was transitioning out of Mormonism. And like, I was like, you guys know how this is. You kind of reconfigure your relationship with your family members and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And
I remember telling like my siblings, like, you guys are missing out on this coffee shop thing. Like it's actually really awesome. Like I'll want to work from home or work remotely. And so sometimes what I'll do is I'll go to a coffee shop and I'll just order a coffee and then I'll like hang out for a couple hours. And I was telling my siblings, like, you guys, this is a cultural phenomenon that like I like didn't even realize was a thing growing up. Until I've had coworkers and friends tell me like, oh, you want to work from home, but you don't like working from home? Just go work at a coffee shop. True. And in my head, I was like, it wasn't
for the internet cafe.
Yeah, like it wasn't a thing I really understood because I was like, what do you really do in a coffee shop? So it was kind of this thing where I was like, I don't know. But after I kind of got over that, I actually went to the coffee shop here in Riverton, which is awesome. It's a great hangout spot, but and I actually like found like, oh yeah, this is awesome. Like I get to just chill in this cool place for a couple hours and sip on some yummy drinks. But that's what I wanted to say was like coffee and tea. It's not a sweetness. It is something similar to whiskey, because I know our viewers are much more geared towards alcohol. It's something similar to whiskey where you kind of start to appreciate the taste. and you can kind of start to taste like with coffee. I really want to do a coffee episode, guys, because coffee is something that I'm really into. Tangentially, not like as into as I am with alcohol, but with coffee, it is another interesting taste because it's not something that is sweet, but it is something that you can appreciate the diversity of tastes, that like a way that one company roasts their coffee is different from the way that another company roasts their coffee. And you can actually taste the differences, and some are more sweet and some are more bitter. Same thing with tea. Some teas are really, really strong and they're really bitter, but you can learn to appreciate that taste. And growing up Mormon, you don't really get that. You get ice cream, and you get really flavorful sodas, and like we all grew up with Jones, all the different flavors of Jones. Like we don't get the bitter, like you need a developed
complexity. That's
palate.
the word,
palate. You need a developed palate to be able to appreciate the tastes of different foods and drinks. And growing up Mormon, you never got any of that. You just got sweet and spicy and sour. You didn't
if you're
get
lucky, you got spicy.
Yeah.
I was just saying, did you get spicy though? Did you get spicy?
What were you gonna say, Spencer?
When you started, Will, I thought you were gonna suggest we break into a Sodalicious and sneak some vodka in or something.
No. Wait. Did you say put?
I know the guy who owns
No,
it.
sneak it with some vodka.
Oh, not dose them with vodka, like throw vodka into their supply.
Oh, that'd be fun too.
Informed consent.
You're making me think, Spencer.
Mormons like to tout their health code as like the word of wisdom is what it's called, and it talks about how these things that you can do to be healthy in life, like not drink coffee or tea, first of all, right? Those are the big ones, and alcohol. And then not eat too much meat, and eat whole grains and things like that. And it was very much of the time. That was kind of the vibe back then, is like eat lots of whole grains so you won't get hard and stuff. I guess that was like kind of what
so
was right?
Wait, what did you say? So you won't get what?
Wasn't that the case? Like that's why like graham crackers and like cornflakes were invented, because like people were too horny, and so they were like,
"What?
Oh, you were being serious?
Eat a goddamn graham cracker!"
I thought she was joking.
I was like, do you know what that sounds like? She's like, yeah, that's what I was fucking saying. Yeah.
But literally, I mean, look it up. That's why graham crackers and cornflakes were literally invented, so that people would not get so horny.
Well, that Matthew Broderick movie, right?
Exactly.
Isn't that they started by the Kellogg's guy?
Yeah. But like, so Mormons like to say, like, God knows that we need to be healthy, so he gave us this beautiful health code. Oh my God, they do not follow it at all. And where they do, it's like sugar is like the exception to the rule, right? Like Mormons eat so unhealthy, like it's ridiculous. Like, so Kevin and I, we were with his family this last week. We made funeral potatoes. And if you're not Mormon, maybe you don't know what funeral potatoes are. They're known by other things throughout the United States, cheesy potatoes, whatever. It's like sour cream and onions and cheese and hash browns and whatever chips or breadcrumbs or cornflakes you like on the top. It's a cholesterol minefield. And so like,
it's not really a minefield, it's a nuclear bomb. It's like, so you can't avoid, right? It's like all there in your face.
Mormons don't eat healthy at all.
Just right in your face.
And like, so, I mean, do you remember, so there was this kid I went to high school with, and he did like Mormon movies and whatnot. But they were like Kirby Hayborn.
And B. Hancock, yeah.
And they did like a band. It was called like the Sons of Provo. Do any of you remember that?
Yeah,
I do. Yes.
And do you remember they sang a song about the word of wisdom, and it went like, meat's okay. No, but only twice a day or something. So it's like, you're not supposed to eat meat in the Mormon religion, technically, unless it's winter or you're absolutely starving to death. But oh my God, if they don't eat meat for every goddamn meal, I mean, maybe not breakfast, maybe they had Cocoa Puffs for breakfast, but like for every other meal, there's meat in it, right? Like,
here's the thing. Oh, go ahead.
No.
What I was going to say is I had an interesting conversation with a younger sibling of mine, and supposedly maybe in the past week or maybe the past 2 or 3 weeks, I know they tried to coordinate like the lesson plans or whatever, so like people might understand this. Is what I'm saying is so my a younger sibling of mine was telling me that in their Sunday school they were talking about the word of wisdom. Okay. And my younger sibling, they are so awesome. They're younger than me, and so they're like super progressive. I've talked about them before. And so they were asking like Will, are there any studies about the benefits or the problems with coffee? Because somebody in my Sunday school class, we're talking about the word of wisdom, and we're talking about coffee, and everybody in the class was saying like, oh yeah, there's scientific studies that show that coffee is actually bad for you, and it like hurts your heart and it hurts your liver and all this sort of thing. And so I actually looked it up in very recently, and looking at it, coffee. So the thing about coffee is there is no clear like scientific proof that it is beneficial or that it is like bad for you. So there's no clear direction that it is good or bad for you in a like holistic general sense. However, for your liver, they have done extensive studies with coffee. And for your liver, if you drink 2 cups of coffee a day, it will dramatically help your liver. It helps your liver detoxify, and it helps your liver process fats, and it helps your liver just process all the stuff that your liver does in a much more efficient way. And also the bad things about coffee that they found, they are not like horrible things. They're like simple things like, oh, it increases your heart rate a little bit because it makes you a little bit, everybody, if you've drank coffee, you know what I'm talking about. It increases your heart rate, but it also helps you focus. So it has like all these sorts of things. But it's funny talking to my younger sibling because they were like, oh yeah, no, everybody knows that coffee is really bad for you. No, it's actually not. Like there's no clear like benefits or bad things that it does to you, but there is a clear like for specific organs, they know that it can really help you, and it can really but there is no like it can really hurt you. Like there is no thing that like coffee or tea or meats that will really hurt you.
Right.
Like,
I mean, you can take anything to an unhealthy level, right?
Like water will hurt you if you have too much, right?
Exactly. Like, and I don't know about tea. Tea is like so
tea's
benign.
Just
it's
water with herbs.
But like water with leaves in it. Oh my God.
That's literally what tea is.
Yeah. But like, I mean, coffee has a nice dose of caffeine in it. And if you are not in a good place with your health and you take too much caffeine, it cannot feel so great, right? Those jitters, right? So, I mean, I think Mormons tend to search for, I mean, and everybody does this, right? They search for proof of their own biases. So
sure.
That's what they're looking for.
But what I was going to say is like, Belinda, you're so right, because like the stuff with sugar and the stuff like Mormons,
if you bless it's not a big deal though.
Yeah, no, but like I've literally
nourish and strengthen. Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't be surprised if like all of you guys have had this conversation with maybe your parents or siblings or something, where at least I have, where I'm just like, so you're fine if you like eat a couple bowls of ice cream, but coffee, you draw the line. Like with sugar, you're fine. Yeah, drinking a couple Mountain Dews in order to help you focus and stay awake during the day, that's fine. but having a cup of coffee in the morning, that's where you draw the line.
Yeah.
What?
My mom is taking
What is
Tucker
this?
pills from the gas station and
Oh,
thinking
God.
that's fine.
Don't do that.
Instead of like doing any other thing, like having a cup of coffee or green tea to boost her energy. So
Yeah, here's the thing. Green tea will give you a shit ton of energy. And it's literally leaf water. It's like, it's not unhealthy leaf water. Like, yeah.
But
trucker pills, on the other hand, or whatever you called them. Yeah, like, don't do that shit. That's not good for you.
I mean, given Belinda's previous comment, I thought you said hooker pills at first.
Hooker pills. Oh,
Let's see where this goes.
those are those little blue ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But hey, there's
so
nothing wrong with sex work. It's work.
I was having this
Valued
conversation. I was having a conversation with a new coworker of mine who recently moved here from another state, and they didn't know very much about like Mormonism or really about Utah, like, because if you're from another state and you're like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna move to California or I'm gonna move to like North Carolina, like you don't really think about like, oh, I wonder if there's like some crazy weird cultural difference, but like between like,
emphasis on cult of cultural. Yeah.
Yes, the highlight underlying cult in cultural. I'm not saying anything, but highlight that part of cultural. So anyways, so I was having this conversation with them and I was like, I hope you know that like here in Utah, there's a weird culture because half of the population is part of a religion. And that religion, it's not like a religion like
Lutheranism.
Yeah, it's not that like everybody is like, oh, we're like a certain sect of Christianity, like, oh, we're all Baptists or we're all
Baptists
Lutheran.
are weird too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I say you're right, but like what I mean is like it's not that it's like a flavor of Christianity. No. Half the population is part of the exact same organization, and because of that, there's like these weird cultural quirks of Utah. And I think we've hit on it in this conversation so far with like, we don't really have like a bunch of coffee shops. We have a bunch of soda shops.
Soda, cookie, dessert spots. So many.
Yeah. And there's also this like, there's a lot of people. I'm so glad you brought that up, Belinda. Like I hadn't really thought about that, but like, there's a lot of like really sweet things. Like now that I'm thinking about it, like there's like, what's the cookie place that everybody buys? Oh, Crumble.
You have Crumble and Chip as well. And there's other off-brand ones. A lot of the soda places sell giant cookies too.
Yeah.
There's a brownie place in Salt Lake that is fucking amazing, by the way. And you should all go there because they're crazy good.
We were all Mormon. We're allowed to be into the sweets. That's fine. Yeah.
But there's the cereal bar where I forget.
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's I was trying
cereal
to
bar?
to them.
It's all the sweet things.
Is
so like Lucky Charms and
it
sounds like some Provo shit.
It's Utah County for sure.
Yeah,
so it's set up like a bar.
Cool,
okay, this is blowing my mind. So it's set up like a bar and they serve cereal.
Yes,
I think it's set up more like a snow cone shop. To be honest, yeah.
It's more like Nenchies or Munchies or whatever it's called. It's like the self-serve, but except for cereal.
If you were really high, that would be amazing.
That's true. That's true.
No one's
just to be honest.
I'm not
the idea to have that to have.
I'm not saying anything, but you absolutely should be high if you go to there. So like, I'm not saying anything.
High on the happiness of life, of course.
Yeah, that's the high I'm talking about.
With the spirit.
Yeah.
So the two of you on the left, well, on my screen,
are
not going to get this, but Spencer and I will know.
Oh, okay.
When you go to the MTC, they have these
giant. The empty C. What C is empty?
Is it like a C that's empty? Like
that's what I thought when I was little.
Empty seed. It's after you get snipped,
or like the body of water.
after you get snipped, you have empty seed. It's just
empty seed.
Empty seed.
No, the MTC, Missionary Training Center. So they have like this cafeteria that you eat all your meals in. Go Will, woo, what's up? And just like Will with his vodka, it's unlimited. Like you can eat as much as you want. And they have these giant vats. Oh, it's Jen. They have these giant vats of Captain Crunch and Lucky Charms and all that. And you literally just stick a bolt. He did.
No, I shot it.
He didn't sip, he shot. He just like
I shot it.
Okay. Where are the bodies hidden? Because obviously you're a serial killer.
you keep
I'm not gonna tell you where the bodies are hidden.
You open up,
Holy
keep
shit.
the tongue flat and just let it go down. Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay.
Or so I've been told. Yeah.
Never seen that before.
In the MTC,
Nice.
anything goes.
So all you can eat food.
All you can eat cereal. Captain Crunch. I ate
Sugar
my
cereal,
body
to be
weight.
exact. Yeah.
My body weight in Captain Crunch in the
How
2.5
many
weeks. I
whole
was in.
grain, not sweet cereals did they have?
There was no fucking grape nuts. I fucking love grape nuts.
I
but
do
would,
too.
I would add a bunch of sugar.
Okay.
So
Tangential side note here.
yeah, go
There's
ahead.
a flavor of ice cream in Jamaica. If you ever get a chance to try
Is it grape
try
nuts?
Grape
Let's
nuts.
go to Jamaica. Let's
Oh
go
my
to-
God.
Grape nut ice
I
cream.
was just
It
telling
is
my
the best
son.
thing.
Really?
Yeah,
There
they'll
used
have-
to be.
They'll have it in the UK.
Do they grind it up? Do they like? Is it?
No,
Or
it's
are
just
there
the grape
bits?
nuts. Go ahead,
Or
Belinda.
bits
So-
and-
There was an ice
Wow.
cream shop. I was telling my son the other day, there was an ice cream shop in Midvale by the Harmons on 9th East and like 80 something South, 70 something South.
Yeah.
And it was called the Tasty Marble. And it was like they're like late 90s, early 2000s. And they had grape nut ice cream.
It's so
and I
good.
remember it being
Ooh.
so delicious that
Yeah.
I was like out of my mind. It was so good. So
Wow.
yes,
Well, what?
they had the lowdown.
So
Man, that's some weird shit about Utah culture for sure.
yeah, so I was wondering. So I was telling my this new coworker of mine, like some of like the general like, oh yeah, you might hear people talk about their bishop. This is what they mean. They might talk about a mission. This
A
is what they
deacon.
mean.
Yeah,
And
I just
so
want to
what-
add that weird doesn't always mean bad. You know?
Oh yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Different.
Interesting.
Different.
Like,
Yeah.
wow,
Let-
cereal
like,
bar,
yeah.
soda bar, like what? Okay,
Yeah,
this is
so-
different.
so, like,
Try it.
What is the
Let-
steak? The steak center? Is this like
Yeah.
like a restaurant? What? Tell me more.
Medium
Tell me more.
rare.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Spencer, because I want to like clarify, like none of this stuff is, I'm not saying it's bad. And when I'm gonna ask you that this question next, is I'm not necessarily asking like what is bad, and it could be bad, and it could be, I'm so curious why you're cracking up, Kevin. But
Sorry.
what I'm gonna ask is like, if somebody came up to you or somebody was moving to Utah and was asking like, what are some like weird things I should watch out for, or what are some weird cultural quirks that I need to get used
Panty
to?
lines on somebody's knee.
Let me not yet, not yet,
Yes.
Belinda. I want to know so much more about that. But what are some weird cultural quirks
Okay,
that
okay,
you
I'll
guys
go.
would
There
warn
are
friends about?
there are castles everywhere that are lit up at night, and you're wondering what the fuck are those?
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
have
yeah.
no idea.
The one on Creek Road.
Oh my God, they're literally castles.
No, the
No, the Mormon
temples. The
temples.
temples.
The Mormon
Yeah.
temples.
Oh, I
They're
thought you
like-
meant like people in
No,
their
they're like
fucking
castles.
No.
ridiculous houses in rich parts of Utah.
So never mind. I mean, Will made a good
Wow.
point that the majority of the population, well, is a majority, at least half the population
I
is
think-
affiliated
okay.
with one sect in a religion. You
Yes.
can say that, right?
Yes.
Because there's offshoots of Mormonism, right? But
True.
one faith, like big part of the state.
Yes.
So there's churches everywhere, and you get used to that pretty quickly. But then every now and then you'll see like a big ass church. It's a temple. That's what it's called. But they look like castles sometimes.
But it's
look
not
like
not the
castles.
regular church. Yeah.
Yeah, like castles from the 70s or 60s sometimes. Sometimes they look gothic. And then other times it's just like, what's happening? What's going on here?
yeah.
I'm gonna-
Architecturally speaking, anyways.
Quick side note, why I was cracking up.
Yeah.
In my
Please.
I've had 3 of these drinks, so
Yeah, I
I'm a little
figured.
inebriated.
For my fifth
Will,
shot, everybody.
those of you who have been following the show since the beginning may have noticed Will's hair is growing long again. When I met Will, it was long, halfway down his back, like very long. On the what is my left-hand side of it, he looks like Paul Revere, kind of a colonial boy.
Oh, he does.
Like,
That's
and
so
on the
cute.
right side, he looks like a cross between Justin Bieber and the 70s version of Joseph Smith, the First Vision video that they used to play in Mormon baptisms. You know what I mean?
remember that.
While you're waiting for the person to change, they would show the video.
I'm gonna shave my head now. I can't.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it's adorable. Yeah. Good job.
But yeah,
Oh,
castles
sorry.
are-
Yeah.
No, Spencer, you're right. I've never really connected that.
Because you go to another
Yeah.
city, you're not going to see anything like that. It's weird.
No.
And
No.
the temple in like the Jewish faith is just like where they go on their Sabbath, right? Like,
Seriously, guys, my mind is like blown. I've never thought of them like castles, but they're like literally castles.
specifically
fuck?
the San Diego temple. Remember when
They-
the San Diego temple was built and everybody was freaking out? They're like, "Oh my
It's
god,
Disneyland."
Just like it looks like Beauty and the Beast. I love it so much." Like they were freaking
Some
out.
of them are beautiful, yeah. And when you travel, it's not something you would necessarily see. There's a couple of famous spots, the San Diego temple, and then the Washington DC as well. I guess
Portland's very beautiful. Yeah.
Portland, I've heard, kind of happens
Inside
happens upon you.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
It just looks like a fancy Hilton waiting room inside.
it does.
Yeah.
Not even a good Hilton.
Some
like,
of them look like Donald Trump's office, though. I will say, like the Salt Lake Temple. It's a bit
Yeah.
much. It's a bit much.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so random castles, like multiple in every single valley, and you can see it from I-15 or from wherever you are. You can like look up over to Draper and you can be like, oh look, there's a castle. So that is a weird cultural quirk.
I'm just gonna start calling them castles from now on. Not a
No, that's
oh, look at the castle. It's beautiful.
Also, by way of information, if you move here and you happen to get invited to a wedding, don't expect to actually see the wedding.
No.
You
Expect
go
to
to the
get
reception.
sweaty
Bring a
outside.
gift
you go
and
to the
expect
reception.
a nut cup and a cupcake
A cup of nuts.
and maybe a soda.
Some
Oh, nut
salt.
cups too,
you would be
90s.
so lucky to
Is that
get a cup of
90s
nuts.
thing?
A cup of
A nut
Salty-
cup?
What is a cup of nuts?
Salty
I don't know.
almonds.
A nut cup?
You would be lucky if you got a cup of nuts.
I had
okay?
to wear those in baseball and football and wrestling. Yeah.
No, who remembers the goddamn nut cups? It had like
No.
3 buttermints and
No,
like
we can't-
some peanuts.
Buttermints and salty almonds. Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
I don't know what you guys are
And
talking
Salty
that
about.
is a
almonds,
nut cup.
Let's not talk
okay.
about the nut cup. Let's not talk
Oh,
about the
and-
nut cup.
And so like 90s Mormon weddings, you had the nut cup, you had the eclair, or if you stayed at the wedding late enough, you might get a slice of cake.
Many
My
eclair.
brother-
Mini eclair.
They're
cake.
not going to
brother-
put out for a big eclair.
My brother had eclairs.
I love eclairs. I had
They're
eclairs.
delicious.
But also, you have sherbet and Sprite mixed together
Yes.
in a drink.
Oh God, it made me sick to my stomach every goddamn time.
Every time.
Spurbit. Yes.
Oh.
Sherbet?
Yeah, Sprite and sherbet.
All right, guys. What's the-
Somewhat related. Just
Yeah.
in terms of behavior, attitudes,
Yeah.
mentality. 2 things I wanted to point out. I think, and maybe it's just from personal experiences this week and interacting with people. In Mormonism, there's kind of this hive mind, unimind approach to life. It's like this is the way that you're supposed to live, and we talked about the health code a little bit. And there's also other beliefs and attitudes and so forth. But I've realized it conditions you and puts you in this mindset of black and white thinking. So it's either this is how things are, or this is how it is, and it's
Absolutely.
there's no nuance.
Yeah.
And so I found that even interacting with people who've left the church, and I'm not saying all of you, but people who've left the church, there's a pattern of behavior I've picked up on where even myself, I'm susceptible to this, but you think, oh, my view is the way things are and should be. And
Sure.
it doesn't always, you're not always going to find people that are flexible in their thinking. In Utah, I will say it tends to be a thing. And I think part of it is that conditioning from from the faith itself. So just something I've noticed a little bit of. And it can be hard to make friends here too, because it's almost like everyone's in on this big secret. And if you're not part of the in group, it can be hard to break in.
Agree.
Yeah, that was something.
Belinda, are you working on a nut cup there? Oh, okay.
Well, I'm not gonna tell you, but that's actually something that that sort of that dynamic of like the in-out group mentality is something that, if you guys haven't noticed, I've brought up a couple of times on the show. And maybe I haven't been super explicit about it, but there's something about growing up in a culture in which like you're either part of the group or you're outside of the group. Like you're like I know Spencer, you didn't grow up like elementary school like type of
No, I mean I grew up Mormon, but it wasn't in a area of high concentration of
like what I'm talking about is more specifically to like the Utah culture, where like you grow up and like if somebody is Mormon or not. And so you kind of have this like initial, like as you are growing up, you form this like mentality of like somebody is either part of your group or they're outside of it.
And it's very much taught. And I remember as a kid, myself or other people in the area not allowing their children to play with certain kids because they were a bad influence, or their families, had alcohol in their home, or were cohabitating, like, or, you know what I mean, instead of being married, all kinds of things like that.
Yes. And so there's, at least here in Utah, I feel like, and I think Mormon sympathizers could probably make the argument that it's not necessarily Mormonism that is the problem that causes this. And I understand that, but like half the population is of a particular religion.
Yeah.
And you're right, Belinda. You start to kind of form this idea at a very young age of like, oh, this person goes to church or they don't.
Yeah.
Or they go to church, but they go to a weird church.
Yeah.
They go to
invite them different to primary because
and so and also like kind of, so as an adult, this is I'm kind of talking more about how I grew up, right?
Same.
Is that's I have very much I also struggle with like this in-out group mentality, Spencer, where I think like, oh, this person's not part of my group. Like it's kind of, you don't think of it as like this person's part of my group, but you kind of think of things as like, I have a in circle, and then anybody outside of that circle is like an outsider almost. And you grow up with this mentality from a very young age. And I don't know how to break it. It's something I really try hard to not think of, is like, oh, this person thinks differently than me. It's not that it's bad. Like we literally were talking about this before we started the subject, is like, oh, Mormon culture isn't necessarily bad. Like we're going to talk about it. But like still, oh yeah, I'm with you, Belinda.
I'm a brat though, so.
Still in my head, I really do need, it's a mental exercise that I do, where I really do need to like specifically and intentionally think like, oh, even though this person this person doesn't necessarily agree with the core concepts of this ideology or this subject that I'm thinking about, I need to very intentionally make sure not to think badly about it. Like, do you guys see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yes, and Mormonism, beyond just like being the other, I think the other even translates to like a certain level of elitism. So like, because we're taught that if you're righteous, you will be, what's the word I'm thinking of? Blessed financially,
it's
right?
the prosperity.
Yes,
doctrine,
prosperity gospel, right? So like, you know, if you are really good, Heavenly Father is going to bless you with lots of money. And if you pay your tithing, he's going to give you lots of money. And that's where we get like Rachel Parcells, right? Does anybody know who Rachel Parcell is?
That's where we get
but she
knives.
sounds like
this.
a fucking dick.
Oh God.
She's the person I love to hate. Okay.
Oh.
And she's the richest bitch in Draper or wherever the fuck she lives in Utah.
Probably
on Sun
Draper,
Hill.
yeah.
And like,
Probably Draper.
she has a dress line at Nordstrom, and she's Mormon, and she likes to show off her Jesus pictures in her house and her basketball court in her basement that they're building. And like, you know, it's ridiculous. And like, this is what we're taught though. Like, first of all, missionaries are taught when they're righteous, they'll get a hot wife, right? When they come home from their mission. And they'll be, you know, blessed financially to like, you know, I think this is just coming from a girl who was never a guy and never had the priesthood or whatever, but like, I think it's most dudes' dream to like come on home off their mission and rise up in the ranks. And they're like being so righteous. Obviously they're going to be blessed and they're going to be the state president. And then they're going to be like a fucking area authority. And then they're rising up the ranks, right? It's ridiculous in Utah.
I'm glad that you said that, Belinda, because that's kind of another blind side that I have is
was that part of your experience, Will? Because I think
no,
Kevin and
wasn't.
myself, and you remember this,
Yeah.
Kevin. The harder you work, the hotter your wife. You know, just almost as if a woman is some. I know this. You know, don't anyhow. As something to be obtained in terms of like property or
something to take care of you,
and
something to
time to undo that thinking. But go ahead, Will.
That's actually what I was gonna say was like, I have a different view of Kevin and Spencer because I left Mormonism before like the really hardcore
before missionaries, right? Yeah.
Kicked in, right? Like I left right before the mission, which I got really lucky with. I got super lucky with. But what I was gonna say specifically was like the aspect or the perspective of women in Mormonism, because like even as I'm talking is like I'm talking about like in-out group mentality. And the perspective I have is from like a cis white male person that grew up in Mormonism. And I didn't get to experience the in-out group aspect of even like the male female aspect or the male non-binary aspect of Mormonism.
Or the white black like Spencer did. Right?
Absolutely. Like that aspect. So I only experienced the Mormon or not Mormon aspect of the in-out group mentality. And back
and forth, right?
Yeah. And I can only imagine like the ratio between like white people and non-white people in Utah is like insane. It's worse than most other states in this country.
Yeah.
And then you also tie in a male versus female or male versus non-binary aspect of that. Yeah. And I can't. I wish I could put myself in those shoes, but all I can do is like imagine how much worse that must feel to be part of a group that is not part of just like in out. It's another dynamic in which I can't understand. But even the degree in which I feel the in out group dichotomy between in Utah, that sucks. It has really sucked growing up being growing up in a Mormon family, but not believing in it. And I couldn't even imagine what it would be like growing up gay or growing up being black or growing up women in this type of culture.
Right. I'm going to give you guys a quote, and then I'm going to tag each of you and tell you what it meant to you as an LDS person.
Please.
Tag away.
Huh? Be ye therefore perfect, even as our Father in heaven is perfect. Spencer, what was that to you as a Mormon? Because I think that's a thing that everybody's trying to attain is perfection, whether it be physically, financially, spiritually, whatnot.
What that meant to me, you know, I lied to myself a lot and others as a Mormon and wanted to always project a perfect image. And it's not something I'm proud of. And I try to live an honest existence now. But to me, it meant, you know, at all costs, wanting to project a perfect image. I would say the image of God was a part of my contemplation, but not a major part until, you know, I was able to kind of see my place as a Black person in the Mormon church, and that caused other issues and was kind of the beginning of my departure from the faith. But the thing that does come to mind is projecting an image.
Yeah. And cheerfulness, right?
Yes.
I feel like cheerfulness was like, oh, smile, right?
Yeah. You got, you know,
because if you're righteous, you're happy, right?
Yeah, that leads to another potential branch of thought, in that quote unquote negative emotions. Some emotions are negative, some are positive in Mormonism, and anger is one of those. Mm-hmm. They want you to contain your anger and, you know, just be happy and
unless it's righteous anger.
Yeah,
push anger.
Push it down. You know, push those feelings down. Only be happy.
Well, to me, Belinda, I'm not sure that it's necessarily like that quote that you mentioned, but I know in Mormon culture growing up, there was this really strong desire. I don't know if desire is the correct word to use, but I'm going to use that. There's this really strong desire to project this image of happiness and to project this image of like, you're not going through depression and anxiety, and like you need to always project like the Lord's happiness and grace upon everybody. You constantly needed to make sure to know that, to let other people know that you're happy because you're living by God's rules, right?
Your image is the church's image, right?
Exactly. And I think, to me, what that quote or what that like type of idea meant, or at least the way it affected me, was like, we can't admit that we're going through hard things. We can't admit that we're anything but happy, because if you're anything but happy, that means you're sinning. That means you're doing something wrong. And like that going back to like my first premise of this discussion was like, what are some aspects of cultural aspects of Utah that are unique? And I think maybe it's not unique to Utah, maybe it's unique to the United States, or maybe it's like a worldwide thing, but this idea that you can't admit that you're not happy, or that you're not feeling anything but happiness. And I think in my personal life, some of the greatest things that have happened is being able to admit that I'm not happy, or that I'm not good with the status quo, and to admit to myself that I'm going through something hard or something dark, and to kind of analyze and really take in and actually fix some of the problems that I emotionally go through. So to me, that's kind of what that means, is
feeling things is okay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, guess what? Feeling things, anything but happiness, guys, it's okay. It's okay.
What was
to
it
not
for
be
you,
happy.
Kevin?
It's interesting. All of your comments kind of hit home. Right now, the Olympics are happening, right? And we just recently had an Olympic athlete bow out and say, I'm not in a good place mentally and I can't compete.
Oh, can I just say, like, as somebody who really actually does struggle with emotional problems, that is so brave.
Right.
Honestly, that
Right.
being able to be on the world stage and be like, nah, not today. I need to take care of me. That like, seriously, guys, that like, to other people that might be like, oh yeah, that's cool. No, to me, that seriously, it tugs at the heartstrings. And
Right.
like, Simone, like, seriously, amazing. It's something that needs to happen more.
No, I agree. And within Mormonism, I don't think it's allowed. I don't think it's allowed to be like, hey, you're asking me to do all these things. So what are you told when, and I know, Will, you weren't as an adult in the church so much, but the other of you, Belinda and Spencer, when you're offered not really offered, when you are extended, that's the word we use, a calling within the church, are you supposed to turn that down ever, no matter what's going on in your life? Ever. No, because what will happen? The Lord will bless you and will make you equal to what he asks of you. So as a person of privilege, as a person of extreme privilege, born not into money, but born into American comfortableness, right? Like I never wondered where my next meal was coming from. Heterosexual, white, middle class, tall, educated, like all the things.
Like, yeah.
Cisgendered, like all the things, right? I was given extreme privilege within Mormonism as well. So the be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect, that Belinda talked about, made me think about that first and foremost. The privilege that I had allowed me to excel and accelerate my pace within Mormonism, leadership within the youth callings, leadership within the missionary callings, leadership within the post-mission adult callings. But going back to both what Will and Spencer hit on, I knew it wasn't fucking perfect. I knew I masturbated. I knew I didn't always completely tell the truth. I knew I
maybe
wish
believe as much as you propose to people,
well,
right?
So
all that, right?
All these things they asked for, I knew I wasn't perfect at those. But then the heaviest thing of all was this underlying notion. So in Mormonism, and we've talked about it a lot, we've never done it, we need to soon. We've talked about a patriarchal blessing episode, and we really need to do that shit.
I need to have mine down.
So in Mormonism, usually when you're like maybe as young as 14, usually in the 16 to 18 range, at least in like Western United States Mormon culture, you get this thing from a local leader called a local old man, called a patriarchal blessing. And I got that. And it talked about a little preface, what it is, it's supposed to be a personal revelation from God, directly from God, to this old man in your stake, who tells you like all the things you can have in life if you're worthy, and all the things that you're kind of predestined to have. And mine terrified the shit out of me. I won't go deep into it because we'll save that for that episode. But mine talked about visions, and mine talked about, and it fell all neatly in line with this idea of, well, of course, like I'm the straight white, like all these things. So of course I'm going to have visions. I'm going to lead the church. I'm going to do all these things. And meanwhile, the whole time I knew I had never felt. So in Mormonism, you're told that you'll feel things within your heart, within your soul, within your mind, to know of the truthfulness of it. And I never had felt that in my life. I felt not dead inside, but I felt unworthy inside because I didn't feel those things. And so when I think of the words of that scripture, it makes me think about how Mormonism taught me that I was not worthy of anything positive in life. And how it made me feel that all that really mattered was putting on a face of worthiness and of belief and of understanding things that I didn't believe, I didn't understand, I didn't know. So the reality is that that verse of scripture brings me a lot of pain. It just reminds me. It also brings me a lot of happiness to know I'm in a different place now. But for many years, for 40 plus years, it just brought me a lot of pain and a lot of conflict that I have all this advantage. I knew that from an early age. Like the word privilege, I mean, obviously it was a word, but like back in the 80s, it wasn't really a thing we talked about, right? Nobody talked about privilege. But I knew I had that. I knew like I'm on the fast track, baby. Like I'm gonna be a fucking general authority, at least to stake president, right? Like
you're like
all these things. God has like, I'm gonna get one of those like double diamond mansions in heaven. And I knew it was all bullshit. I didn't know the religion was bullshit, but I knew I wasn't worthy of that based on the way they set up the criteria for that. So that verse of scripture hits a little hard, to be honest.
I go ahead, Belinda.
Oh, I was just gonna say, for women, like for myself, like you realize you are a prize, right? And so physically it comes down to, that's where we get in Utah lots of plastic surgery. In Utah it is verboten, shall we say, to get a double piercing in your ears. I don't have a double piercing. Oh, actually, maybe I do, because I got a little nose ring.
You got a triple piercing, yeah.
Yeah. But like if you were to have like more than one piercing hole in your ear, that means you're literally a harlot. Like you were just like out on the streets. You're a streetwalker, essentially, if you have a double piercing in your ear.
Thank you, Gordon B. Hinckley.
God forbid as a male if you get anything pierced.
Oh my God, yes. And
Tiger King.
But also like, so your body's a temple, right? Like, so never get a tattoo, never get pierced unless you're a lady and you can get one piercing in each ear, the end. And then also just like you have to be physically perfect, literally. So in Utah, we see a lot of plastic surgery, like whether it be facial surgery or breast implants, liposuction, whatnot. It's a huge industry in Utah. So if you are a plastic surgeon, come to Utah, you will make bank.
There's an obsession with fitness too in Utah.
Fitness, absolutely, yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Not in a mindset of maintenance, but like striving for perfection is what I'm
striving for perfection. But also
like you go to the gym and everyone's like done up Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
And it's done for visibility though, too, right? Like they don't go to the gym looking like shit because they just rolled out of bed at 4:45 a.m. They go to the gym looking like hella awesome, like in their like, you know.
Well, let me tell you guys. All right.
Like, so like, I mean, for women, it's like you need to be physically perfect. Nobody fucking cares what you think or what you feel. It's like all about how you look. So you better be able to perform the duties of a wife and look hella hot. And the rest is, it doesn't matter, right? So like it was.
Your husband will take care of that shit, Belinda. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
What does the rest matter? You know.
Yeah.
So that's how that works. Mormons' focus on perfectionism is toxic to a fault, and it's kind of scary, and we should get into that sometime. We should definitely get into that.
Yeah, no, I think we've just barely even scratched the surface.
Yeah, I mean, can we talk about grocery shopping at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night and how much of a nightmare that is?
Yeah.
What happens at 11 o'clock on a Saturday?
Fucking Macy's in Provo is packed.
Bananas, because everyone's trying to make their shopping done before. Because even if it's Walmart, that's open 24
because
hours.
After midnight, it's the Sabbath.
Yeah.
Okay, but there's also the other
weird.
aspect.
It's super fucking weird.
Or Costco at 5:30 on a Saturday afternoon, right?
It is
insane. Okay, but there's also the other counterculture aspect of Sundays are starting to get super busy too, because everybody realizes that the Mormons shop during the week.
Man, I remember when I left the church it was only 6 years ago, but Sundays were great. You know, no traffic. If you want to go watch a movie with your friend, you have the whole theater. You know, now it's getting a little different. I mean, there's still parts of Utah County that are like that.
How many Exmo TikToks and Instagrams and things have you guys noticed like popping up? Like daily,
there's that too.
Like daily. I was telling my son, I was like, I don't know if something's happened recently, like within the church, but like this is like exploding.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, we're running out of time, but
that's true.
I will bring up, and we can follow up in future episodes.
Yeah.
So today, in a Facebook group I'm in, I didn't even remember being in it, so I don't think it's a big one. But it's an ex-Mormon group. And there was a missionary who posted in there.
He must have posted before, though.
I've heard about that.
He posted before. I think he's in Maine. I think he's in Maine or something like that. And he basically, so I know this from personal experience. I worked in the at the Missionary Training Center for 5 years in software. Hit me up if you want to know more, but I basically helped teach him, like, look, the world's going online, because at the time I was leaving Mormonism, but I was still doing my job. So I was like, if you want to move into the future Mormon missionary work, you have to go online. Yeah. So we built software for it, but so a lot of missionaries are online now. They have mobile phones, they have Facebook accounts, they have all these things. But apparently this Mormon missionary in Maine, he's probably 18, 19, 20 years old at the most. Hi, Whiskey. And he read some shit and he was like, what the fuck is this? What? And he pondered, he prayed, he studied, you know, the typical Mormon shit. And he was like, oh yeah, this is a cult I don't believe anymore.
So he got the actual answer from the Spirit.
Yeah. So he like spent time and he kept studying and he was like, what the fuck? And so he went to an online Facebook group and was like, an ex-Mormon group, and was like, I don't really believe in Mormonism anymore, but I'm an active missionary in the field. What do I do? And people are like, you're a fucking grown ass man, you know, like Not
Get up
really.
and go, right?
To be honest, not really. No offense, Will, but like, not really. But like, he's legally an adult. He's whatever. And they were like, whatever you believe or whatever you want to do, you should do that. It's not illegal. It's not like, be yourself, do your thing. Let the people in your life know how you feel. Yeah. So he did that shit. He talked to his parents, he talked to his girlfriend, he talked to his mission president. And guess what happened? So, little side note here, when you go on a Mormon mission, you are strongly, strongly, strongly encouraged. And it didn't matter to me and my family because we weren't super wealthy or anything like that. But you're strongly encouraged not to bring any excess funds into the field. No credit cards, no extra money, no things like that. You or your parents pay a certain amount to the Mormon church every month. And they, in turn, pay your bills for you in the mission field, no matter where you are, and give you a very, very minimal amount for fuel, for any vehicle you might have, or food. And there's no thought.
Trees and whatnot, your daily living.
Ish. Like, I mean, granted, it was a long time ago when I went there, but it was like in the double-digit range every month that I got in my mission. Every month. It was like $78 or something like that we got. Like, so enough to buy like
$78.
Some loaves of bread, and that you and your companion had to pay for gas if you had a car too. So we were always like, oh, I want to be in a fucking bike area where we only ride bikes because like, anyway. So this poor kid has lost his faith and he's like, and rather than anyone who's meaningful in his life being like, oh, buddy, like, yeah, this is part of becoming an adult, like figuring yourself out, figuring out what you believe, figuring out all these things. Guess what they did? They were like, oh, parents, you're fucking disowned if you perpetuate this line of thinking. You can't come home. You can't live here. Any of the things you have at our home are no longer yours unless you continue to go to church and finish your mission and do all these things. Girlfriend, you're fucking, I mean, it was probably going to happen anyway, let's be honest. But she was like, yeah, fuck you, you're gone. Mission president, so the person responsible for his well-being wherever he happens to be, which is in Maine, was like, no, that's not true. You can't believe that.
Find out who this asshole is, by the way.
Yeah, I might look it up. I mean, because I'm getting tired of telling certain people to fuck off. But Ralph Hancock, fuck you, Ralph Hancock.
Yeah.
But this mission president tells him, you need to read more, you need to pray more, you need to ponder more. And he's like, motherfucker, I've been pondering my ass off. Like, I mean, he probably didn't really say that. I wish he would have.
Said
but
mother freaker.
Mother freaker, you mother freaker. But this poor kid, now get this. Like I said, the kid's probably, honestly, he's probably 19, maybe 20. But he's a grown-ass man who chose to give his time to the Mormon church for 2 years. He didn't sign any document that said, I will do this for 2 years.
I was wondering.
There's no legal,
like,
there's no legal, at least there wasn't when I did it. I don't think so.
There's no way there is.
The motherfuckers will send you home if you go and watch a movie or do, whatever. But this guy said to him, no, you have to stay here. I'm not sending you home. I'm not letting you leave. You need to read, pray, and ponder more. This, in my opinion, and granted, it's just my opinion, but this, in my opinion, is cult-based kidnapping.
I agree.
This is not allowing an adult human to make a decision for himself. He has no access to money. He is being asked to give of his time and his effort freely to an organization. and he is being held essentially ransom, not only for his future in this life and his future in whatever life there may or may not be after death, but he is not even being allowed to leave in the present moment. He's not.
I heard a similar story about a sister missionary up in Washington or something like that. Similar thing. Yeah. Oh, you're not.
They wouldn't let them come home.
Nope.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah,
that's insane.
We'll have to save the mission chat for another time, though.
Yeah, we will, because what I was gonna say is just like I know they made a recent change where missionaries are technically allowed to call home more frequently.
It's true, but not go home more frequently.
But like seriously, the growing up, all my friends, they weren't part of this new policy. And they can only call home on Mother's Day and Christmas. It's
two days a year.
It's kind of like the unlimited vacation at work thing. It's like, yeah, you can call as much as you want, but I'm going to be more righteous and only call once a year now.
You know what, Spencer? I haven't dedicated enough thought to think about that, but you're absolutely right.
Because you don't want to be the one who's always calling.
I mean, I'm fine with it, to be honest, on both counts. I'm like, yeah I'll be honest.
But you wouldn't know how that might feel to a missionary out in the field right now, right? Like like the culture around that might be like what Spencer's saying is it's similar to like the unlimited PTO with a bunch of tech companies, where when tech companies start to allow unlimited PTO, they actually see a reduction of PTO usage in the company.
Yeah.
Because people start to feel guilty about using the PTO. And what I was going to say is with the whole only being allowed to call on Mother's Day and Christmas, I know people personally who have suffered through really hard mental health crises because of that specifically. Like they have a homesickness. It's a cultural shock to pull an 18, 19-year-old out of the culture that they grew up in and supplant them in another culture where they are not emotionally equipped to deal with, especially the type of emotional health that we provide to youth here in Utah. It's not sufficient to support that huge dramatic change from going from the Utah culture to another culture. And I've personally experienced, well, not personally, I know people personally who have experienced that hardship of having to go out on a mission and be so homesick. So at least they've changed that. But you're right, Spencer. I don't know how that culture has actually changed. But the idea of just like taking somebody and putting them in someplace else is so. You're right, Kevin. It is a cult-like behavior. And
especially when your only line of defense that you're given against homesickness or depression or any of these things is talk to your magic space daddy.
Yeah.
And he will fix it all for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't have the capacity to even be like, yeah, no, fuck this. I'm going home. Because you can't go home.
Somebody else holds the keys to that, right?
Yeah. So that was actually another cultural aspect that I was telling my coworker was you might hear this thing called missions. And when people talk about missions, what they're talking about is for 2 years, you have people that leave to go try to convert people to their religion.
That's about $12,000 or so.
Or more.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, depending on where you go.
Yep.
And stuff you got to buy and yeah.
My mission tonight was to relax with a delicious drink, and you all helped accomplish that. So
cheers. Yeah.
And I hope everybody else has done that, and I hope we all have new things and new ideas that we could talk about when some of our friends are moving to Utah.
Oh, I'm sure we will. If you have any other weird Utah cultural quirks or Mormon related, please share them in the comments. Say hello. We'd love to hear from you. So If there's anything,
subscribe.
Subscribe. That's right. And you can find us on Twitter at ThirstPod, on Instagram at Thirst Impressions Podcast, and Facebook Thirst Impressions Podcast as well. And of course, the website for show notes at thirstimpressions.show.
I need to update that shit. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
It is a beautiful website.
All right. We'll see you next time. Good night.
All right.
Peace.
Bye.
Oh.
Have you ever had a nut cup?
I have to pee really, really, really bad. How long is this going to take?